someone is asking that you've talked about the very many great people you met in your life. You interact with members of parliament, you've met the president's daughter, Shalin Ruto, and quite a number of people that are inspirational. Is it a question of favor, or are there value systems that one has to be deliberate about to make in order to not only attract this network, but also to keep the network?
They should be quiet.
All right, trillionaires, can we please have a moment of silence so that we can answer the questions? Thank you.
Listen, that's a good question. Let's appreciate the person for asking. Now, there's a part where the spirituality aspect contributes in terms of favor and all that. But for favor to come, it must find some systems that have already been created. For example, Joseph had favor in the Bible, right? But that favor needed a product that it could partner with. I always compare these two stories of Mephibosheth and David. Both Mephibosheth and David got an opportunity to stand in the presence of kings, right? And all of them, they actually have 10 similarities. I want you to go and study them. But both David and Mephibosheth stood at the age of 16 in the presence of a king. But you can see a difference between these two because David was able to articulate his value easily, and Mephibosheth instead acted timidly. He said, a dog is better than me. Who am I to even sit in this table of a king? But look at how David expresses himself. That confidence came from the aspect that David knew that he had value. The same thing also to Joseph. Joseph had 3 opportunities to interpret dreams. The first time, he spoke before his family and the family got angry. The second time in prison, he interpreted a dream, but these men never rewarded him. By the third time, he spoke and Pharaoh was able to reward him. What's the difference between the first, second, and third time? The third time, Joseph had interpreted his value properly. This thing I'm doing today, 5 years ago, I was called by a certain company to do public speaking, and they asked me, how much should we pay you? And I told them, I don't know. So they gave me 2,000 shillings, Kenya shillings, and they had a budget of 200,000 shillings. Because at that time, I had not yet defined my value, and their products I had not built. So 3 things that someone needs in terms of value systems. I always say that before you build networks, be a network yourself. Who has understood that? Like, before you approach anyone of value, be valuable, you as a person, right? If I'm able to benefit from the relationships that Brian will give me, as Benny, I should be a system by myself. Someone say be a system.
Be a system.
Now, how do you become a system? One, you must have a product. The Knight Frank report for 2024 says that there are 4 levels of wealth every human being should have built for them to be relevant globally. You should have wealth around creative thinking, critical thinking, intentional networking, and there's a third one. You should have wealth around critical thinking, critical thinking. There's a third one, I'll remember it. Critical thinking, either consultancy or to some degree you've either written a book. Creative thinking, that either in terms of movies or something that is within the creative field. Intentional networking, that you have so many valuable relationships, and there are 5 levels of relationships you need. You need relationships in military and the security forces. You need relationships in entertainment and music. You need relationships in the world of media. You need relationships in the world of immigrations. Yeah. You need also relationships. These are called the 5 entries, and also you need relationships in the business world, and also within religious circles. You need relationships. Because at the same time, there's an access also the religious guys can give you. So one, you must have a product that you've built. Even in the realm of critical thinking, creative thinking, have something that can introduce you to greatness. Like David had a sling. Daniel had the ability to be able to advise 6 people. You must have something. Even God asked the widow of Zarephath. She had oil and she had flour that could be multiplied. So don't just be an employee. Even for the people who work with me at the office, Faith here, right now what Faith is doing, we came with her to Uganda, but she's moderating. When we left Kenya, we did not agree she would moderate. But one day she moderated an event and I told her, from today people will pay you more money than what I pay you as a moderator. And Faith, she's paid 50,000 to moderate. Are you getting it?
Kenyan shit.
So I always tell people Kenyan shillings, just to make things clear.
Yes.
That's 1.5 million for her to moderate an event for 2 hours. Now, if she'll do like 10 events in a month, it's not the same as the salary I pay her. And I told her, if you're waiting for your 8 to 5 job to make you a billionaire, it's a lie. Because you cannot work 8 to 5 for 40 years, Keith, and expect to be a billionaire. So that conversation must change. Because you must tell each other the truth. Even Mr. Brian told the employees that you must think beyond salary. You must see me beyond salary. Salary is like your fee for practicing and building capacity.
Yeah.
Salary is not meant to sustain you.
Yeah.
So build a product. If you lack a product that introduces you, then like you see, Amanda is an interior designer. That product is a point of conversation. She'll say, I have a company that does interior design. That conversation will start from there. So build a product. Someone say build a product.
Build a product.
And I always tell people 4 simple ideas. Either write a book, either have a company, or number 2, either build a software. Like you see, Brian has written a book. Brian has a software, Propertio, and he has also a platform, Bible Meets Business. All of you go to Fanero, but not all of you have access to Apostle. How did he meet Apostle? Bible Meets Business. It gives him proximity because that's a platform. So either build a platform for conversations, or number 4, have extra relationships that are rare. So that's how to build a value system. Then number 2, expand your nets. In the Bible, Jesus told disciples, go back and fish. But the Bible says that the disciples says that the nets are torn. Why were the nets torn? Because in the Jewish culture, there were 2 nets. There was a commercial net and there was a domestic net. The domestic net could hold 70 up to 100 fish. The commercial nets could hold up to 1,000 fish. They went to the domestic nets instead of the commercial net. And in life, sometimes your nets can be too limited. That men want to bless you, but my question is, what do you have that can make people give you 50 billion? One day I went and I was having a conversation with a CEO, Daktari, and this CEO asked me, how much do you need in terms of support? And I told this guy I need 2 million Kenya shillings. And he told me, I cannot help you, not because that money is too much, but because that money is too little for my support to come in. Are you getting? Bigger problems attract bigger opportunities.
That's true.
Make your problems big. So expand your nets that whatever you're doing in Uganda can actually attract attention.
Yeah.
I had one phone call in Kenya. Brian called Dr. David Molapo, right?
Yeah.
From South Africa. And he said, I'm here with Ben Hinn. Just say hi to him. Now, anytime a great person tells you, just say hi, don't just say hi. Don't be foolish. They're telling you, introduce yourself. Don't say, I just want to say hi. Don't be timid. They're not saying you say hi. Because if it is hi, you could have just waved. So Dr. David asked, so what do you do, young man? I told him I have a speak academy and you're preparing 30,000 young people who are running for elections in 2027 on public speaking. He said, come to South Africa. I want to meet you next week. I'll give you a whole day. Explain that idea to me. When you're a national solution, you attract national stakeholders.
Yes.
So expand your net. Begin solving bigger problems. So if you're still paying rent and fixing small issues, no one is attracted to that. Expand your nets. Then the third thing, do your homework. Know who is in the room. One meeting should lead to 5 meetings. Because one meeting is never enough to close a deal.
From a meeting.
And one thing that Brian says is that book a meeting from a meeting. Never come out of a meeting when you don't know when is the next meeting.
One.
Then one meeting should create enough attention.
Sure.
5 meetings.
Yes. Thank you.
A round of applause.
Amazing. Thank you very much for that. So I have a question for both of you. It's a very intriguing question that you will help us in terms of understanding. So there's a concept that you mentioned in terms of timing, that Nicodemus made Jesus at night. There are business deals that you close very early in the morning, and there are others that you close very late in the evening. And with the experience that Mr. Brian here also has, he has been able to build different businesses across the globe, and they span with a very big influence. So how are you able to time conversations? How are you able to time the opportunities that were coming your way What did you see, for example, in the States that helped you culture the concept of concept real estate? How did you manage to build Bible Meets Business? What is the opportunity that you saw, and how quick were you to leap on that opportunity?
Thank you so much. I'll start it with this. I don't know if you have that video which I wanted to share with the people. You have it ready? As I speak, I want to share to you this. When you meet an opportunity, do not procrastinate. I tell that in the simplest way, and people don't understand it. Do not procrastinate when the opportunity is. You're in front of an opportunity, and you're thinking about, okay, now I'm going for lunch. And you clocked out already, but the opportunity is in front of you. It's true when he said, do you know who are the people in the room? Because if I invite here someone to tell me, when you got into the room, did you read the room? Who is the 5 people you're going to have an interaction with before you leave the room? And how quick is that interaction going to be so that you are able to meet the other 4? Because you start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How are you turning conversations? I'm saying him that we need to do a class to teach people how to time conversations. Because some of you start a conversation with someone and you prolong it for 1 hour. And even by the time you finish the conversation 1 hour, people are no longer interested in continuing that conversation. Because you have not mastered the trigger points of the conversation. How you begin it, how you build upon it, how you conclude it, how you master it. That's how I say, when you enter into a meeting, time it, book a meeting, form a meeting. Because at this meeting is a meeting of introduction. It's not the meeting of conversation. And that's why it was important. How do you introduce yourself? I was with him. We did 4 meetings in one day. Different distances, 4. But with the intention. And each meeting was contributing to something. And each meeting I described to him differently. That this first meeting, it was introducing to family. These people who are connecting us to their family chat. They're not just like a conversation was just business. We went to another meeting. He wanted to understand what I do. He wanted to tap into my vision. And by tapping into my vision, also he structured us in that meeting as corporate people. So it was not talking about families and all that. It was business as usual. Then we went to another meeting. It was seeing this great man who migrated from America, come back to Kenya, migrated back home, and he identified himself now in a new land. You see how these conversations are merging and being tracked?
Yes.
And with that conversation with that gentleman, it was about talking about the business which I'm in. Now we are tapping into the industries which I'm in. That is the guy who owns my space in Kenya. That was about real estate. We're talking about now real estate.
The eye.
The eye. So then the 4th conversation was concluded to the vision which is bigger than beyond me.
Yes.
Because to the big vision of Bible Meets Business is beyond me. I'm just a servant there. We're orchestrating something God which has put upon my life with other people. So now I have to meet the people who have done similar conversations, done similar ministries, similar strategies, but on a massive scale. The last meeting was to see how do we build Bible Meets Business to have a conversation with 1 million people in one place like this. Because this gentleman who was the last meeting, he's doing a meeting of 1 million people in Minneapolis. This is in America, to have 1 million people listening to the word. It's important. See the video.
The art of networking on social media, by this I mean reaching out to people in their DMs, have 3 rules. Number 1, mastery, that you should be articulate enough to go straight to the point. Number 2, track record, that when this person sees your social media platforms, they'll actually see reasons of collaborating with you. And number 3, alignment, that every person you reach out to, you must align with their vision, their values, and at the same time align with their current need at that time. I reached out to Brian Kayongo 5 months ago in October. Then one day, after watching my interview with Apostle Grace Lubega, he said, let me respond to the DM of this man. So after responding to my DM, he planned a visit to Kenya to just come and see the work I'm doing with the I Speak Academy. Picked him up at the airport. I wanted him to meet my circle of mentors and also my circle of clientele who are in real estate. Our first meeting I had with Paminas Kariuki, the CEO of Nyotanjema. They had a great time, as you can see, smiling in photos, talking about principles in real estate, and we had an amazing time. Second meeting, I took him to Capital Club in Westlands, where he met Pius Mushiri, the CEO of Nwabo Capital.
Nabo Capital is a company that deals a lot with financial issues when it comes to saving and investment. They had a great conversation, took some nice pictures. As you can see, Mr. Pius was happy meeting him. Now let's go to the third meeting in Karen, Mwenda Thuranira. Mr. Mwenda Thuranira is a thought leader in the real estate industry. He's also my client in public speaking. So I wanted them to meet because they align in terms of language. And they had a great time, talked about my town space, and they just saw how they can be able to collaborate when it comes to AI and real estate industry. Third meeting, we went to Windsor to meet Dr. Sami Onyonyo. He's the president of Shine Organization, a movement that does global missions. We had a great time, and now I'm here in Uganda with Brian Kayongo. These results came out of a DM, just a simple DM.
What made that happen is not me or him. No. What made that happen is a team behind us. Because you cannot execute on that if you're just one person. There's a logistics planning, there are strategies which have to be made, and there's a plan behind that. You cannot tell me you enter a country and you discuss something with someone in 2 days ago and this happens. When you ask him, when you go to Uganda, how was it planned? There was a team behind him coming to Uganda. So many of you are selfish, just want to win by yourself. That's why you don't achieve the things you have to achieve in life. You go to places and you just want to go alone. Introduce people to places. Because everyone has an important aspect in your life. As your father Apostle Grace last time was teaching us about inner circle. So who are those in your inner circle, the 3 people, the 12, who make these things happen? That's my message to you. Repeat the question for him.
Do you time conversations? How are you able to?
Okay. I think he said so many things. Let's appreciate him. He's covered it. I'll insist on what he said about speed. Be fast. Like in Kenya, I tell my whole team, you cannot work with me if you don't buy postpaid airtime. Because you can't be making a serious phone call and then your call hangs up because of airtime. It shows that you're not serious with destiny.
Yes.
Because how can you lack airtime yet we are discussing serious ideas? Now here, remember, we are not talking about business of selling things like things that are at 50,000.
Yeah.
We are talking about doors. You remember the walls, gates and doors? So you're now talking about doors. There are things that you should have cleared in your life. You cannot network with certain people if you don't have money. Money is not actually meant to settle in your life. The second guy that Brian met is called Pius Mushiri. He's a billionaire in Kenya. He's a solid guy in terms of kingdom. And that guy said, one day he told me, do you want to be a pipe, do you want to be a bottle, or do you want to be a river?
Yes.
In terms of money. Because that guy can have 1 million in the morning, Kenyan shillings, and then by 10 a.m. he doesn't have it. And he told me, he doesn't want to own money, he wants to influence money.
Yes.
And he told me, money is meant to bring you closer to people who have more money. For example, I can't host Brian if I don't have a car. Can I break it down? Make it very practical. Can we break it down? You guys look like you're angry. It's like I'm touching a soft spot. Because for me to host Brian in the way I hosted him, I needed to have a car and access to other cars. Are you getting me? So I don't need my own car only. I don't need to have a Mercedes. I need to know people who have Mercedes and they can give me the Mercedes. So I have like 10 people in Kenya who can actually give me high-end cars in case I want to host anyone in the country comfortably. So I need to have a good car. I need to have a guy who can take good drills. So I need an S23 Samsung. And these guys should not worry about their fare. To run that whole ecosystem, when Brian came in the country, there were more than 12 people who were responsible. In terms of booking his hotel, the protocols, ensuring you've carried the bags, ensuring you organized a masterclass for him within 24 hours to gather at least 100 founders in a room within 24 hours. So influence is needed. Now that means I never began networking with Brian on that day. I began networking with him 4 years ago. Who has understood that the work of networking does not begin at that moment? Like right now, we're already building capacity for 5 years to come. I don't know if you're understanding. The Burj Khalifa, the second tallest building in Dubai, was built for 10 years, but it took 8 years to build the foundation and 2 years to build the building. So networking The effort does not start when you're talking. The effort starts even before you meet the person.
Yes.
And there are things you need. There are things that contribute to networking. Even for me to get access to all these 4 guys, I booked an appointment 24 hours before Brian came in the country. You can't just convince these busy guys to give you time. There is something you must have, like influence. On TikTok, I have like 254,000 followers. But I've worked to get to 54,000 in terms of videography. I've paid videographers. I began changing my video qualities like 1 year ago. I invested in my video quality. All my books are transcribed. I don't write my books by myself because someone told me your books are going to the Globe. You're a good speaker, but you're not a good writer. Find someone who can write your book so well, then print the highest quality of paper for them to enter in the Globe. Now, when I was spending money at that time, was I sure the money will come back? No, but I did it anyway. Why? Because they say, sell anything for your destiny will buy it back.
That's it.
Sell anything for your destiny will buy it back. Then also there's another quote that says, invest anything in yourself. Someone else will pay for it. So in networking, there are 3 things you need, just to conclude this. Number 1, you need the small things of life. Someone say the small things of life.
The small things of life.
Like having a good phone.
Yes.
Having a good car. My office is in Westlands, opposite Kempiski, where Brian was sleeping.
Yeah.
Deliberately, I've chosen the location of my office because there are conversations you cannot hold in CBD.
Yeah.
Where there's noise. That's why billionaires make deals in big hotels. They don't come here because they're hungry or there's no food at home. You don't take a girl on a date because she's hungry or she lacks food. There are things that someone can only accept in a certain environment. Be very deliberate where you do your meetings. Those are called the small things of life. Having good shoes, nice socks. You can't tell me you have 4 pairs of socks and you're telling God to give you nations. There's something called the small things of life. Like your suit. They may not be important, but they're important. Small things of life. Have the small things of life. Have a power bank. Because how can your phone switch off when you have a serious meeting? Because you give an excuse that I did not have power.
No power.
In a serious conversation, have the small things of life.
Yes.
Know how much this hotel is. Today, I want you to go to the presidential suite of this hotel and find out how much is it to host someone. Know the biggest venue in this country. How much is it to pay for it? Why? Because one day you'll host someone and you need to know these details. Go at the airport and just come back. Know these things. Know how much is an air ticket. The second thing you need to have. Build a track record that no one can ignore.
That's wrong.
Because Brian has said about timing, this whatever spices conversations is a track record. Work on yourself that by the time you're meeting any person who's very key. David told Saul, I have killed the bear, I have killed the lion, I will kill Goliath. The bear is the king of the wood, the lion is the king of the jungle. Goliath was the king of giants. I have a track record of killing kings. Have a heavy track record. Like right now what you're doing in this event. I've just told Faith, we are going to give you certificates, all of you.
Yeah.
Certified by Speak Society. It's part of a track record. Because right now you've had conversations around public speaking, personal branding. You've been trained in terms of disruptive leadership and mindset shift. So you can certify you on 4 topics for creating time. Track record is key. Go for events that don't make sense and take a picture and post it on LinkedIn. Some of you are too polite for life. You're too good. You're not so disruptive and it's killing you. Then number 3, handle yourself as a big deal.
Yeah.
Don't approach anyone who is great and be like, thank you, sir. Please help me, sir. Never tell anyone support me. Tell someone partner with me. I want to collaborate with you. Learn to use careful terms. Don't say support me, help me, sponsor me. Learn to use words carefully. Ecclesiastes 12 verse 10 says, and Solomon the preacher chose to use acceptable words.
Yes.
Be very deliberate about your choice of words. Don't use words like support, help me, please. Never approach key people like a beggar.
Yeah.
Approach them like a collaborator. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow, let's give a round of applause for that very engaging question. So there are very many questions here that are rotating around the topic of healing. And the first question says,
Don't forget.
how do you learn to heal?
Because you've broken a ceiling. Yeah. Okay.
The first question says, how do you learn to heal?
You'll do that. Yeah.
The second question says, how do I heal from my past trauma and not allow the experience affect me? So the subject is around healing.
Okay.
And I'd love to start with Mr. Brian.
Yes, repeat the
For
question.
the first question is, how do you learn to heal? How do I heal from my past trauma and not allow the experiences previous affect me? So the conversations around anything that you've gone through in life and that has broken you to the point, almost the point of no return, but you managed to bounce back because everyone has been through something, and you have to heal at the end of the day. So the discussion around healing, how do you learn to heal?
Thank you so much.
That's deep.
At the age 25, God blessed me and I became a millionaire in dollars. But after some years, like 2 years, everything, I lost it. Everything. I lost it. But when I lost it, no one even could identify that I've lost it. But I lost it. Because most of the times, people identify us just physically. They don't identify us inside. Because what is inside of us, people always don't see it. That's why people only identify us of what is happening today, but they don't get a chance to go watch the first video which I did. Because the first video will describe for you the ignition of my identity. So when I lost it, the first thing which did upon my life, it was humility. Understanding that anything which is given to me, I can lose it. Anything. The other thing, understanding, and I'm not beyond any situation of life. Because situations happen to people. And when those situations happen, how do you position yourself? Are you going to go to your bed and start crying and saying, God, why me? Why at this time and point of life? Because in this room, most of us, the survey has been done. 90% of Ugandans live by debt. Not so? Do you agree with me? Yes. But we never accept the challenge of life of being in debt. And we have never accepted how do we overcome that situation of being in debt. Because this is how it starts. You borrow from the bank stops borrowing you. Then now you start going to your friends start borrowing you. Then you start losing friends. By the time it becomes red, you don't have friends, you don't have a bank, you don't have another opportunity to you to begin. And it's a tough conversation to speak in front of people. Because no one would never want to identify themselves like that. Because all the conversation we have here, it's about success. No. I want to tell you, it's not always going to be successful. You're going to see failures in life, but how are you able to come out of those failures? The first thing is you to accept. I'm in debt. Because that's where most of us, we deny ourselves access to get back to where we have to be. That goes into the point of my brother saying forgiveness. You forgive yourself and say, I accept I made a mistake and I need to accept this reality that this is happening. What do you do when this is happening? What do you do when this is happening? Who are the people? Because most of us, even you ask ourselves, that how do we even get out of these situations? I learned when I was passing through that process or passing through that situation that I even couldn't introduce myself back to the bank to have a conversation of how I can fix this. I wouldn't even have a conversation with my friends. How can I fix the relationship back? Because now they hate me. They cannot have a conversation with me that why can you not pay me back? Why? That's when I learned one thing. All of us, we need help in life. And we need to know certain conversations, we may not identify ourselves in those conversations. We need to get to those people who can identify us in those conversations. So I met a person, by God's grace, a person sat me down and said, okay, let us have a conversation. Who do you have to pay money back? I gave up my heart to this person. Tell them, this is the situation. Because do you know why even I got a chance to give this conversation to this person? It's because I accepted that I'm in this situation. And that is the hardest thing I will tell you. You imagine you're known to be a multimillionaire, but now you're no longer one. How do you even want to hear people hear that? Because all of us, when people see you today, you bought a car, and then next time they don't see you with it, you say, no, it's at the garage. But the truth, someone took it. So, those conversations we don't want to have there. So when I talked to this person, he was the person. You need to have those people in your inner circle who identify to come through as a solution of voice for you. Because there are moments you're going to get in and you cannot have a voice. And no one can give you the ear to listen to you. To give you that voice of, yes, Brian, talk to me again. No one. You're going to reach in situations that no one can hear you out. And you need to have that person in your inner circle who can hear you out and can speak for you. Most times we teach you that you can speak for yourself, but also as we teach you to speak for yourself, understand who are those 3 people or 4 people in your inner circle who can be a voice for you. One day I'll give you an example about Rebron. Those who know Rebron. He has 4 people who are in his inner circle. You know those guys who follow sports. And you have seen how successful Rebron has been. But if you go deeply, listen to the podcast of these guys, they'll describe to you the history that everything has not been just roses and flowers. Reaches a time when these guys are in voice for Rebron. So when I got this person, he's the one who went for my voice to these places. Talk to each individual. Talk to each bank. And I was able to restructure my situation. Because in most times you don't want to have someone voice for you out. Because most times you're creating relationships which are like getting porridge and you pour in water when you see water is the one which is floating. You need to build relationships. And when you see a person, you can say, I'll give you an example. When Hinn is here, I have a team, all my staff, I can trust them to be with him. Ask him, most time was I with you?
No. Yes.
Because
yes, we were with you in Kempiski.
In Uganda, when he came, I wanted to show him another side of me, that anyone who is around me on my team, I can trust them with him. When you went for the haircut,
Yes.
did I go with you?
No.
Because I trust what is going to go in his ear for my team, it is right. I trust where he's going to step with my team, he's going to be addressed right. I trust the person who's going to drive him will not just drive him because I'm not in the car. They'll drive him according to what I've built in those people, according to how they identify me to the relationship I've created. Most times when failure comes to us, we don't have those people who already built something in us to understand my voice, to understand my heart, to understand my weaknesses. We only build relationships that you have friends when you're celebrating, they show up in many numbers. When you're on your weakest point, you can count one person showed up. You say, hey, where's Alex? Hey, Alex, he had an appointment. You get what I'm saying? How do you identify a relationship? For me, from my lawyer, one of my lawyers is called Dimitri, he's a Greek guy.
Mhm.
Last year we had those who attended Concept Kickstarter soft launch. I made it intentional for people to learn from this. You're not going to be in my life when you don't have a real genuine relationship. As I say, you don't know my kids. You don't know who are my parents. You don't know. People tell you you're my friend, but they meet you in bars. They meet you in hotels. Who is your friend? Can your friend advise you that what you're drinking is wrong? Can your friend advise you what you're eating is not right? Can your friend tell you that it's time to rest? Because you can keep on winning, but if you don't rest, also is the wrong thing.
Yes, sir.
When I got my doctor, I didn't want him to just be a doctor who treats me when I'm sick. He's someone who is interested in making sure that I'm okay on a daily. That do I rest enough? How my schedule works? How the people around me contribute to my health? Is in that conversation. It's not just going to show up one day, okay, Brian is sick, now let us work on him. By him being involved on a daily basis, intentionally knows what to do. It might be just me needing to rest. But you're going to a hospital and they give you injections and injections and injections. If even your doctor cannot show up on your workshop, who is going to show up? You get what I'm saying? So, I have my lawyer in the US. He hears my conversations. He understands them. He cannot represent me in court if he does not understand my heart. What is he going to be representing? So from this question, I want to build upon you the certain key players or people in your life that failure is going to happen. But who are the key players already in? Who are the people who are going to... Because God has already blessed us with people around us. But are they the real key people? You're going to just have a friend who just knows how to give you jokes. You're just going to have a friend who knows where you go out. You just don't have a friend who entertains you. But who are the real key people that you spend time with, and when things happen in a different way, they are ready to act right away? Because always they are what? Around you. You are in business, but you don't have a debt manager. Because you're going to borrow. You're going to borrow to invest. But also your debt manager is not just teaching you to borrow. They're teaching you how to be debt free and you stop being a slave to the lender. Do you have those key people in your place? You borrow 500 million shillings, but you have never touched it. You don't have someone around you who has the experience to manage that. You have a lawyer who represents you in court, but he just saw you last week. Does that person know your heart? How can that person introduce you in court? They just say, by case number this and this, we are introducing this case and we think we are not guilty. To what conversation is that coming from? You are doing business, but you don't have an insurance. You are invested in such a nice building, but you don't have an insurance. You need to have a fire insurance. Not only that, you need to have an investment insurance. Because let me tell you, this hotel cannot just be here when they don't have a life insurance investment. Because as you're putting in money here, it has to pay to that. Because look, in 10 years, you're going to reach and sell this hotel, or you're going to reach and get in partners, but already for you, you identify yourself to massively distribute your wealth. It's not only in this hotel. But so I want you to understand those conversations.
Many are lost in there. Someone tells you, I'm trying my best to come out of masturbation. But I find it pleasurable, number one, but also I feel like it has a stronger hold on me than my will to get out. So how do you heal? Number one, but also how do you get out? Because I think you get out, then you heal.
Okay. Let's appreciate the amazing response Brian gave. Now, when we're talking about wounds, it's important for us to understand that wounds are different. There's a book I've written on woundedness and in relation to creativity and how wounds affect the economy of Africa in general. And in that book, I've broken down the 5 kinds of wounds. There is a fracture, there is an internal bleeding, there are bruises, then there is a deep cut, and then there are scratches. Those are the 5 kinds of wounds. When someone scratches you, you'll feel the pain, but it may not really bother you as such. When someone bruises you at the same time also, the blood will come out and then stop immediately. When there's a deep cut, it will come consistently. Then for a moment it will dry, but it will leave a constant scar. But when you're bleeding internally, it's even worse. I remember a friend to my mother was bleeding internally for 7 years. And then the man did not know until one day he went to hospital and they told him, there's a blood clot on your brain and we cannot do anything. So the man died. He had an accident, then he hit the roof of a car. And he used to laugh and say, just hit the roof of a car, and then I felt poo, and then I was okay. But it left an internal bleeding, and for 7 years it was bleeding slowly, until the day he went to the hospital and he was told, man, the blood clot has covered your whole brain, because he had a constant headache and he never knew where the migraine is coming from. But worst of it all, you can have a fracture. And the danger of having a fracture is that your leg can look perfect, complete, but actually you have a fracture, because fractures are also internal. Now I want you to break it practically. Some of you have scratches. Scratches, for example, you gave someone money and they have never returned. That's a scratch.
Yeah.
So that one, it's there, but you already forgot about it. You got angry on that day and you moved on. The second one is a bruise. You had a friend who never celebrated you on your birthday. But you noticed. Now, listen, anything that you can notice, it means that it got to your heart. Let me repeat. Anything that you can notice, it means it got to your heart. Because anything that gets to your heart, it means that it's something that to some degree, it triggered a certain emotion. That's why you notice. Because there are things you don't notice. Why have you never noticed? Why have you never found people gossiping a child? Because a child sometimes might not be noticed, or a dead man. But if it's a human being is alive, they might notice that. So anything that your heart notices, it means that it actually wounded you. So that one falls under the level of bruises. Then we have the third kind of wounds that are now called deep cuts. Now here we are talking about heartbreaks and heartaches. For example, you're dating someone, then they dumped you. Before you dumped them, they dumped you the first one. To some degree, now that one falls under the level of deep cut. But maybe that person, you had not gone so far with them. You had gone like 1 year. And no one knew, the social media did not know, your family did not know. So that one is a deep cut. You just swallow it slowly and go to church and worship. People are crying as they're saying Adonai. They think you're crying because of an encounter, but you know you're not crying because of an encounter. That one is a deep cut. A deep cut can also be friendship. You had a friend who was a solid friend. You guys had built quite a solid relationship. Then your friend betrays you. That one falls under the level of deep cut. But now there is a fourth level, fractures. Now fractures, I'm talking about family issues, things about childhood, rejection, your father leaving you. That one falls under the level of fractures. And fractures can be there for so long. Like on this leg, on my right leg, I believe maybe as I'm saying this, I'm going to heal completely.
Amen.
I've ever fallen with a bicycle 5 years ago, and I did not go to hospital. And this leg twisted very badly that it got swollen. And I never went for a checkup. Now, anytime I walk and I'm having shoes that are a bit high, like when I have Oxfords and they're a bit high, and I'm walking on the staircase, it will always twist again and I'll feel the pain. So to some degree, I feel like there might be a fracture here, but I never focused on it. Fractures can be there for so long. Things like childhood. But then there's a fifth level of wounds. Now I call them internal bleeding. Now here we are talking about childhood deep issues. Wounds that teachers also gave you. I need you to do an assignment for me because I know you have a book. I want you to write sources of wounds. Yes. Which wounds do you think you have? Because it's important to know the sources of wounds. For some of you, they came from school. For some of you, they came from family. For some of you, they have come from friends. Like right now, some of you don't have friends at all. You're a lone ranger. You're used to being alone. You have built a system around yourself where people will never get to you. No one knows where you stay. In your house, your room is a bit dark. You have a huge teddy bear that you hug every night. And you have put even a TV in your room so that you don't disturb yourself. You have built an ecosystem around yourself to ensure that you're self-sustainable. You have saved even money for next month so that you'll never borrow anyone. Even right now, you've come with 3 pence so that you don't borrow your neighbor. You've built a system around yourself to ensure that you'll never borrow anyone. And these ones are in the level of internal bleedings, because internal bleedings forms a philosophy. Where do these philosophies come from? Like, you see the quotes that people post on Instagram, things like, it is okay not to be okay, you don't need people, you just need to be alone, now it is time to care about you. All the quotes about self-love. Where did they come from? Because God never created us for self-love. God created us to give love.
Amen.
But where is that narrative coming from? It's coming from these personal philosophies, that when you are hurt, you form a philosophy. Anytime human beings are hurt, they form a philosophy around pain. And philosophies are either inspired by love, they're inspired by pain, they're inspired by fear, they're inspired by the concepts of a nation. That's where philosophies come from. So it's important to audit all these things. So like for me, I sat down and I had to know the sources of wounds. One of the things I had to do, I had to forgive my parents. I thought, Kitambo, before I would tell people, I forgave my father. But now I know I forgave my parents. Because one day I went for my healing classes and this lady asked me, have you ever sat with your mother for 1 hour? And I said no. I realized that I've never gone out with my mother at all. We only talk about school and Jesus. And the lady also asked me, has your mother ever told you you're handsome? Actually, I was joking with my mom 2 weeks ago and telling her, you've never told me I'm handsome. My mother only tells me, no, God, you're a brilliant. General compliments about the mind and religion. But you know, it's important for a man to be told he's handsome at a young age.
Yes.
So that when he meets women, it will not be a big deal. Because that's where the issues of David and Solomon came. How can Solomon marry 1,000 women but only have 2 children out of 1,000 women? Meaning Solomon never married actually for sex. There was a validation he needed from having many women around him because of the mother issue. I know we only talk about the father issue, but also a mother being absent as an effect on a man. Look at David. All his issues about women came from the aspect of also the mother not being present and not properly affirming him. There's a book written by Tim Olson on the legacy of absence. He talks about how nations are at war because of fatherhood. But nations don't just fight because of fatherhood. Infidelity comes because of mother wounds. Let's say your mother was wounded by your father. It has an effect on how your mother will raise you. Your mother will raise you in a tough way. She'll raise you with a strong arm. Remember, women are supposed to be tender and loving, but your mother can raise you with a strong arm because your mother was a single mother. So she had to act like a father. So she had to forget the feminine aspect to become a father.
Yes.
In the process, she loses that aspect of touch. To some degree, there are hard conversations that come in. There's a breaking that can happen to a man. That's why there are men who are nonchalant. One day I told my father, I love you, and he told me, go and read. Because my father, also their father left them for almost like 12 years. They did not know where the man is. My grandmother had to step up. My grandmother was waking up at 4 a.m. to go and sell milk. She walked with my father for more than 40 kilometers to take him to school. There's a part of my grandmother that was killed, that was supposed to be a mother, because by the time she's walking for 42 kilometers, she can abuse you and she'll not feel anything. So it's important for us to know all these things are critical. We must analyze all these types of wounds. And even for the body of Christ, there is no better time as this for us to have these conversations on wounds, bitterness, and pain. Because it's even in church. Look at ushers in church, the way they are angry. Look at the timidity that is in church spaces. Where is this timidity coming from? Wounds, mother wounds, father wounds. There is also wounds caused by siblings, sibling rivalry. Some of you are compared to your brothers and sisters. Still today, you are still compared. And even you compare your own children with the children of your sister and your brother in terms of parenting. Wow. Where did it come from? Sibling rivalry. And check through the Bible. David had to prove himself to the fathers. Joseph had to prove himself. Jacob had to prove himself. I always use the story of Jacob and Esau. It's very interesting. Esau was being affected by something called the curse of the gifted. Because the Bible says that Esau was a talented. Jacob did not have any talent at that time. He had not discovered it. But Esau was so gifted. But look at this. Because Esau was so gifted, I always ask myself, how is it that Esau took so long that Jacob planned how to lie? They cooked meat, it boiled, the father ate until he blessed him. For all that time, where was Esau? But because of pain, pain can also cause something called the curse of the gifted. Because when you are wounded and then you are blessed, you relax. Who has understood? When a wounded person buys a car, that's their ultimate, because they have disapproved whoever was behind them. And in Africa, we measure success by the number of failures we leave behind. Because anytime you're wounded, you'll always compare yourself. Comparison. Someone said nothing is too bad until it is compared. Nothing is too small until it is compared. Comparison comes from woundedness. Anytime you find yourself comparing anyone with anything or yourself with anything, it's because you're wounded. And the danger is that you'll never live to your ultimate best, the perfect will of God. Because when you're wounded, you'll compare yourself with your ex. You'll compare yourself with the girlfriend of your ex. Who is more beautiful? Who is more successful? So you'll never be intelligent according to the standard you're supposed to be intelligent. You'll only be intelligent according to the standard of the girlfriend of your ex. That's the danger of being wounded. Even in terms of your business, you'll build your business according to the standard of your family because you're competing with your brother. That's the danger. So the devil has used woundedness, and the danger is that you can speak in tongues loudly, but you're wounded. Because wounds have a way of hiding themselves also in spirituality and fervency. They have an ability of hiding themselves. Because I used to preach so loudly, and the whole school is giving their lives to Christ. 2,000 kids are saying, we want your Jesus. And I leave, and then I get into my room, and I am so empty. And a presence comes in my room, and sexual urges come. You have preached about sexual purity, and you fall back into sex on Monday. And I could go to men of God, they will touch my head. I have been prayed for by all the graces you can ever think in Africa currently that people are listening to. Nigeria, all those people. I went for Rema Feast, looking for all men. Michael Oropo one day touched me. I said, you'll be a beacon of inspiration in Kenya. And I woke up and I said, I've conquered this thing, sexual immorality. And I used to think the problem is sex, but God told me the problem is not sex. The problem is that you're wounded. So sex is just a door that the devil is using. For some of you, it might not be sex. For some of you, the devil might be using the door of separating yourself from people. You fear people because you've been wounded before. So you don't like anything to do with people. Like right now, you're prepared to run away from this meeting. Immediately it is over. Why do people run away from church, Amanda? When the church service, even before it ends, apostle is leading people to Christ. People are already standing. Why? Because of social anxiety. Because you fear people. You fear people. Let's call it as it is. Because some of you have been wounded too much that you fear when people love you too much. When people are posting you and gifting you, fear. Some of you fear love. You fear good people. We are used to bad people. One day I took a girl on a date. I did not even want anything from her. She began asking me, what do you want? What do you want from me? Just tell me what you want to finish it right now. Just tell me. Because some of you are used to being hurt that you don't love good people. Even in Africa, we don't love good leaders. Because we are used to being stolen. We are used to being hurt. You can be used to being hurt so much that you love it, that you fear good people. That when good people come, you run away because you fear you lose them. All these things must be faced. Because you'll treat your employees like that. Yes. You'll treat your business partners like that. Some of you have never gotten into any business partnership because of trust issues.
Yes.
Because when you have trust issues, how will you trust someone with 2 billion, your money, and you sleep? You'll not sleep. You'll be waking up every time. You tell them, send me your passport. I don't trust you. Send me your ID. I want to see your ID. Where do you stay? I want to know where you stay. And how can you fix healing? Not just therapy. I knew the kind of therapy I needed was not the therapy of sitting down and being asked, are you okay? Can you cry a bit? To some degree, I needed a prophetic therapist. And that's why some of you need to rise as prophetic psychologists.
Yes.
Because my therapist, we sat down with her, we were able to trace back 60 years ago in my family lineage what could have happened. I even called my father. I called some of the people who had hurt me in my family and apologized to them. Yet they were on the wrong. But God told me, ask them for forgiveness because you are peddling forgiveness on my behalf. It was an intense journey, even till today. The instructions that God gives me, like when this event ends, I might not interact so much with people. Because anytime virtue leaves, God told me, you have not yet built capacity to run consistently. So anytime virtue leaves you, you must also take time back again and retreat, go back into meditation. Faith is the one who does my diary in Kenya. She must make sure that one day in a week, I must meditate for at least 6 hours. Because it was an instruction. Because one of the ways you heal is by meditation. Romans 12:2.
Yes.
Do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but by the renewal of your mind, be transformed. Renewal of your mind is meditation. Don't just pray, meditate. Because meditation deletes some files, and implants new files. I went and wrote, because in the Bible there are 1098 scriptures on healing. Go and get them. Get a document. I put a sticky note of scriptures in the shower, a sticky note of scriptures in the car. Every day I could meditate and make sure that in my system I have 8 scriptures in me. Psalm 36 verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. All things work together for good. And I will declare them in the night. I will declare them. Then there are also activities you need to do alongside healing, like sitting with children. Anyone who has not healed is uncomfortable around children. Then you have to reduce meeting people so oftenly. Because I used to hide behind being busy. I used to be so busy, I could even sleep for 3 hours. And then you go somewhere and tell people, I sleep 3 hours a day. Yesterday I did 12 meetings. And it seems like you're great. But in real sense, I was hiding behind being busy because I never wanted to face myself. And when God told me for 6 months, don't do anything, it was the hardest time in my life because I was used to being busy. I was looking at my suits and I'm like, these suits need something, need a job. Even the suits are asking themselves, where did the owner go? One of the ways to heal is by pausing everything you're doing and then clear everything that gives you validation. God told me, don't call Julian Kula, don't call Pastor T. All the men who are giving me affirmation in my life, they disappeared. I could call them, they were not picking calls. And God told me, I want to give me you. I want to give myself to you. My girlfriend went to France for 6 months. My best friend, his name was Henry, disappeared for 7 months and switched off his phone. One of my closest friends, up to today, his phone is still off. I don't know where he went. I was staying with 16 people in my house as a way of also avoiding pain. I was staying with many people. I always walked with people in my life everywhere. I was never alone. And it seemed like leadership, but to some degree, you can be addicted to people. Do you know addictions are not just about sex and phones? Some of you are addicted to people. You never go to any event alone. Even today, you begged your friend to come with you. You can never walk alone. You can be addicted to people. God told me, conquer the addictions of people.
Yes.
And now find me. It's a whole conversation. One day you can have a whole conference on healing. You just sit down for 6 hours, put your phones away. Like some of you cannot stay for 20 minutes without touching your phone. Try that today. Just put your phone away for 20 minutes. One day just sit for 6 hours, Brian. Healing for entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Yes.
They are ready.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Very.
Yes.
The last question maybe about the topic of healing.
Yes.
In all you shared the types of wounds, the scars. Is it safe to say that you now healed completely?
Hey, boss, healing is not a journey. It's a destination. It's not a destination, sorry, it's a journey. Because every day you realize something. Like, for example, we can sit here with Brian, right? And then all of you ask Brian questions. And then I'm not asked. And then I realize I'm angry. And I realize, oh, it's insecurity. Or you come in a meeting and you're not properly acknowledged. It's a work.
Yes.
But I can say I am not where I was. Like right now, there are things I've conquered completely, like sexual addiction. It's not something that is disturbing me. But there are small things I notice. Like, for example, an employee wakes up in the morning and tells you, now I'm leaving. And as the boss, you begin to feel bad. It means you're struggling with attachment issues.
Yes.
You're attached to your employees. Some of you are attached to your employees because you don't have many friends. So your personal assistant is like your best friend and your sister. The day they leave, you get angry. Some of you don't know how to make friends. All your best friends come from your workplace. You must know how to define friendship. I always tell people your best friend can't come from the same place that you're working. It means that you're lacking balance in terms of friendship. Because your friendships will always come outside circles of confines that you're in.
Yeah.
Your best friends, all of them cannot be in Fanero from church. What if one day you transition? What will happen? They'll now be your enemies. There must be wisdom in terms of friendship. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, to some degree, I can say that it's a whole destination. It's a whole journey that you go through, and you keep growing in phases. Because when you check the Bible, what the devil used, he either used ignorance, deception, or pain. to attack great men. I have studied books around greatness. I hope that one day I'll be bold enough to start this podcast. There's a podcast I want to start. It's called The Mike and Soul. I'll actually interview you there. And I'll be asking you very hard questions. The top 50 public speakers in Africa, all of them have divorced.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Out of the 54 presidents in Africa, 37 are divorced,
Yes.
including one of the greatest men, Nelson Mandela.
Yes.
In Kenya, majority of the women in media are single women. I've done a research, and there are things I'm about to say that are a bit aggressive, so I'm gathering courage to begin saying them. But I've done a research for the past 6 months. I sat down to study presidents and great men. Where did they fail? And all of them fell at the place of wounds,
Yes.
forgiveness, heart. And I discovered the devil has capitalized on that so much. And he doesn't care. He comes even up to the pulpit. And healing, to just sum it up, this is what I always say. Can we clean a car and say today is the last day we are cleaning it? Why? Because the car is still working. So this is what I always say. As long as you are alive and interacting with people, it means you'll continuously
Clean you.
be hurt. So clean every day.
Day. That's true.
Does that make sense? And how do you clean every day? Now, in cleaning, there are 3 kinds of.
Clean.
There is the body, there is deep wash, then there is vacuum cleaning. So the body is your daily devotion. The deep wash is meditation, checking your heart, the childhood wounds, and dealing with them as a project, long term, consistently. But then there's a vacuum cleaning where you remove all the seeds. That one is taking consistent breaks of consecration. So after every 3 months, I must take 10 days breaks of consecration to deal with that matter. And then raise a covenant of love. How do you raise a covenant of love? By having joy, declaring love. I notice in my company, people are sad. People are focused, but they are sad. People don't laugh. So I brought games. There are also structures you build. So I brought games. We joke. We eat deliberately. There are structures I had to put. There are days we all slide on the floor. We just say today we are sliding, and we put soap on the tiles and we run as we slide. You come there and you are wondering, is this the same man who was training people on greatness? Yes, he is the same man. But that man has learned how to handle that in every man there is a boy, there is a man, and there is a warrior, and there must be balance.
That's true.
Which cleaning have you done? And which one have you not done? Which cleaning have you done?
I think I need to do a vacuum cleaning.
You and I, boy.
And
We need to go to the
just
vacuum session.
after here.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Mr. Benny, for that. It was really an introspective session as well. We have so many questions, and if we continue like this, we might sleep here. But I see that you don't mind. Sindio, you don't mind.
You spoke in Swahili.
Aha.
You said Sindio.
I'm sorry.
We need some Swahili.
Swahili as well. Sindio.
Yes.
Sindio means is that sawa? Oh, wamesema iko sawa. So you're in agreement. Amazing. Anyway, but we're going to wrap this up with summarizing some of the questions. And I will give it as pointers.
That is good. The wild
We understand that both of you are early starters.
Amen.
Yes?
Yes.
He made his first $1 million in 25. You wrote your first book at 19. So the biggest question here is, how do you start? But not just how do you start. How do you connect purpose to business? How do you start and how do you connect
Let me give
purpose
you the
to
microphone.
business? But more than just
Answer it.
connecting purpose to business, how do you disrupt? Because you have made it a very clear picture for us of how the impact in the UK is great, how the impact in Uganda is also great, how Bible Meets Business is also going global, how you have interacted with the young people in Kenya. So we need to get those concepts. How do you start? How do you connect purpose to business?
That's a whole
And
other
the
thing.
third one is, how did you disrupt? So how can someone in this room disrupt from their business concepts?
Thank you so much. With the music, I would say, don't get too familiar with this. Most of us, when you speak on stages, we get too familiar with it. Whatever I say on this stage, it might change someone's life or it might kill someone's life somewhere. So it is with great pleasure when I sit here and speak to you that I don't take this for granted. And I don't get too familiar with it. Every day I leave hunger inside me to do it better and greater. Yesterday I had a conversation with him when we were visiting one of the properties we are building. And the conversation was in regards to putting together what you said. Purpose versus prestige. When I was teaching one of the first master classes, I was teaching about that. Purpose versus prestige. He asked me, why is this house not like a mansion? And I told him, how many rooms do you think someone like me will need in the house? Like if you're counting bedrooms, maximum should be like 4. Okay, one of my bedrooms, one bedroom for the girl, one bedroom for the boys, one bedroom for the guests or my pets when they come. For what? Rooms. I'm building for purpose. I'm not building for prestige. For prestige, I build 6 rooms or bedrooms. And always the 2 are what? Empty. That is misusing resources. And there is no purpose for us, reason for us to misuse what? Resources. So for you to achieve what I've achieved at my age, you need to understand when you use the knowledge of purpose, the knowledge of prestige. Because we get it so confused sometimes because we live in places of greatness where we see, oh, we are prestige enough to be speaking to this number of people. And we forget, when are we going to use purpose? What is my purpose here to host these people here? Is someone going to leave this place changed? Is the space we got to host these people, is it the right place? We're looking at purpose. We'd have got a bigger hall and then we leave chairs empty. Was that just to show prestige that we can afford a bigger space? Or we got the right place so that we can show there's purpose in what we are doing? That because I cannot teach you how to manage resources if I cannot show an example of how I manage them. I cannot teach you to be successful in business at the age when I got successful if I cannot teach you the roots and the steps I took into knowing how to begin, into knowing the conversations, how I started them. Because in every conversation for me to have a target and say, God, by 25, I'm going to be a successful man with $1 million. How did I get to that? How was I managing resources? It starts like this. Those who know, the Queen of Sheba visited King Solomon. And when visited King Solomon, he reached to this kingdom when everyone was one. The servants were like kings. Wherever they had pertained, they were like kings. So you enter into a place, you have a conversation with someone, but the people who are surrounding that person, they're just surviving. You start building a business, but the people around you don't empower them. You have someone on your team who's your administrator, but you've never sent them to go to Dubai to learn about, have a global understanding how to be an administrator in the company. But you're just serving them as just servants. How have you ever made the servants to be kings? Because you cannot be king of an empire if you don't have kings serving you. Because they would just serve you as servants in the servant mentality. Because they know you just have to serve, they cannot be in position of power and influence.
Yes, sir.
That goes back when I left Ben with Keith, I know he is going to serve. He's a king already. He's not just a servant. I've given him the tools to take him to places that he lives as a king.
He's putting you in trouble.
I don't just enter places or stay behind. No. I enter with you in the places and I show you how even to acquire those places. So when I was showing my brother to be successful in real estate, I was showing him, don't just build just because you're building for prestige. Build for purpose. Because if I spend most of the money which I've acquired in building a bigger mansion, how am I going to get the resources to build the arcade I want to build?
How long are we just doing conversation?
Because most of us, they teach us that, okay, when you get money, you build your home, you need to have a home.
We are finishing.
What is the home translating to you? Is the home giving you income every day? You're just putting in it every day. Some people ask people, why don't you have a house? I see you tell us you have buildings. Because they're not looking at the purpose of the house. Because the house will just be a prestige signature that I have a house there. But the guy has an arcade which cash flows every day, and you see a guy is the one who is supporting kids to go to school. He's the one who gives big in ministry. He's the one who does bigger crusades. But for you, you have a house, but you cannot support a crusade. But you say, I have the biggest house in Mienga. To do what? To sleep with your children? After a year, we see, oh, the house was taken by the bank. Because you build it for prestige, to show what you can have mastered. But if you build with purpose, you're going to build something which gives you more resources, something which gives you more life. So when you're working with anyone in life, I want you to put the things. Is this person dealing with me with prestige, or they're dealing with me with purpose and value? So that you understand what is purpose versus what? Prestige. So that you get to understand that you are in this person's life as the way the Queen of Sheba visited King Solomon, and so that you are the king. Someone should not just see you as just someone they can just use for that moment. They should see you as value in their life. These are the things people look at when they value in their lives. Are they just going to see you as someone who is a common person? Or they're going to see you as someone they can stand next to? Or someone they can interact with the conversation? When I was giving the conversation, when I got into those problems, the one thing which I didn't have the knowledge to keep what God had blessed me. Most of us here, we're going to be blessed enough, lucky enough, and you start something and it becomes great. But the one thing which you need to learn before even you being lucky and got what you have, God is going to bless you with, understand how to protect it and keep it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Let's appreciate Brian. Come on. I told you people don't like clapping. I'm too cheerful. I think for me, I'll focus on the question of purpose. We had a vision board session this year when the year started in January. Every year, we normally call our community to create vision boards. And so when I called them this year, they expected me to come with scissors, all these manila papers for us to cut things, and then they go home. But we had a session, very introspective session on vision boards and what does it mean to have a vision. And I'm telling you, no one did a vision board. Everyone went home to think about their lives. We talked for 6 hours. And I asked them some questions that I'll also ask you, right? What is the question of purpose? Because when you go in church and ask someone, what is your purpose? You know what they tell you? To win souls, glorify Jesus. And we can hide behind that. And it can actually make sense. But now when you ask someone, okay, glorifying Jesus, what does glorifying Jesus mean in your life? For example, Amanda is glorifying Jesus, right? You're right? But what is she doing? Bible branch. What is he doing? Bible meets? Apostle is doing Fanero. There's a reason why Apostle is a good singer, but he has never put a worship experience. There's a reason why Joshua Selman has never thought of writing a book with all that wisdom. I always ask myself, when are these people waiting to write books? But it's because it's not part of the configuration of their purpose at this time. Now, do you know even you can try today to put Bible branch? Like yesterday you saw the page. I'll use Amanda and Brian as a template just to explain the concept of purpose. And I'm sure it will change your mindset. Right? Sit upright. Let's have this conversation. Brian had to first become an entrepreneur. He had to live in Uganda, then go to another country. Why did he go in America? God wanted him to have global exposure, number one. Because one day God knew there's something called Bible meets business that will not be in one country. So he needs to have global exposure. Number two, he needed to learn dressing. Because there are people he was supposed to approach and he needs to dress up in a certain way. Number three, he needed to know God. And not just knowing God, there is a church he was supposed to go to that was supposed to package him to know God in terms of the language of grace and mandate. And that ministry is supposed to look a certain way to influence his expression in terms of ministry. So Panero has 657 live stream centers. So he needed to be in a ministry that online possibilities is a possibility so that he can live stream. Like right now we are being watched in more than 20 countries.
Yeah.
So if he was in a church that doesn't have a camera, there's a mindset he would have lacked.
Yes, sir.
So the question of purpose is not just about glorifying Jesus in general. What does glorifying Jesus mean in your world? Who is your audience? I ask these people, I ask my clients every day after I've trained them public speaking, who is your audience? Who have you been called to talk to? You can't tell me the whole world. Because even Jesus never spoke to the whole world. There's a reason why Jesus never preached to Pilate. He had a chance to perform one miracle and the Pilate would have accepted Jesus Christ and not crucified him. But the ability of Jesus holding himself and not telling the Pilate, you actually need to know Jesus. Because Jesus knew he has been called. He said, 3 people, I've been called for the broken. I've been called for who else? Those who are captives. He was very specific. And Jesus knew the energy of winning the king is the same energy as winning 5,000 souls. Let me focus on the 5,000 souls. The king will know me later after I have resurrected. So you can't tell me I've been called for the whole world. There is an audience for you. How will you know that audience? Check your background. Which school did you study? Why did you study in the school you studied in? Why were you born in Uganda and not in Morocco? Why are you not born in 1984 or in 1922? Why are you not Homo erectus? Why are you Homo sapien? Why were you not born as a Chinese? Probably right now you could have already died from eating scorpions. God knew there is an orientation that you can only survive in Uganda. Are you understanding me? Why did you go to the schools you went to? Why do you dress the way you dress? We must begin to dress intentionally with purpose. We must begin to eat intentionally in places that align to our purpose. We must begin to make friends that align with our purpose. The question of purpose is so deep. But unfortunately, many of us have already lost it and we've hit maybe 50. So you have to deconstruct everything we thought that purpose is. Because in Africa, we define purpose in 4 ways. Either by career. I ask someone, what's your purpose? You tell me your purpose is a banker. That's a career. Career is a vessel towards purpose. Or people define purpose, number 2, with religion, glorifying Jesus, to make sure that the whole world will know Jesus. Glorifying Jesus is a mandate of everyone. But there is a vessel in which you're supposed to glorify Jesus. Daniel glorified Jesus. Joseph glorified Jesus. At the same time, Peter also glorified Jesus. Paul glorified Jesus. There is a reason why of all the disciples, Paul was sent to Rome. Because Rome had educated people in terms of civilization. And Paul was a persecutor. He had understood their language. He's a man who had studied philosophy. That's why he was able to speak to Agrippa and Felix. He had that articulation. So we cannot just say purpose is general. Purpose is so specific. Purpose is so detailed. And purpose is also so seasonal.
Yes. And
it is very generational. Those 4 ways. It is very specific. It is very detailed. It is very seasonal. And it is very generational. There is a season that will require you to step up as a worshipper. But God wanted to introduce you as a worshipper first. But it doesn't mean now forever you'll be a worshipper. Some of you started as a worshipper, but you might end as a government advisor. Some of you started as a government advisor. You might end up as an apostle in terms of preaching. You must be able to understand all these things. And you must ask yourself, even where you stay, does it align with your purpose? Yes. Geographically. How did you choose your house? How do we choose the schools of our children? We choose schools according to cost. Which school is cheaper? Which school is closer to my house? Did you ask God, who is this child supposed to be? Maybe your child is supposed to be president. They're supposed to study in Harvard School of Leadership. Some of your children are not supposed to study the education system of Uganda. They're supposed to study hacking and coding, artificial intelligence, public speaking, social dining rules. That is why some of you are wasted early. You're supposed to be a model. But right now we have made you an intercessor. You're speaking in tongues while you're supposed to be in Tokyo, wearing good makeup and preaching the gospel with a lot of class and fashion. So the question of purpose must be answered. And we must be truthful to ourselves. Some of you are in the wrong places. Yes, you are successful, but you're not fulfilled.
Yes.
You're not fulfilled. You are struggling. You're pushing. One day I began a company for branding t-shirts because I loved t-shirts and I had influence on TikTok. And I started a company and we began selling t-shirts and we were making 70,000 per week. And I thought that's my purpose. One day God told me, I did not tell you to open this. This one was your own idea. And I gave out all the equipment, worth $500,000. Gave out all the social media handles. I did not even take anything. And God told me, focus on public speaking. This is what I will use to introduce you to the world. Focus on it. And I deconstructed everything. And I chose to focus on it. And we started the school. Right now I've produced kids who are the best in the globe. They were number 6 globally and number 1 in Africa. 4.5. I train kids who are 4.5 how to talk for 30 minutes articulately. A kid who is 5 years old, give them the microphone. They will talk confidently. Now that's my purpose. Not everyone can do that. You try and go talk to your child. Give them one sentence. You'll beat them. You'll even just push them away. It's not easy. But there's an art I have. I will kneel down and look at the eyes of a child and talk to their inner core and transfer greatness and tell them you can do this. I teach grown-ups who are stammerers. In my classes, I have healed stammerers. So it's an unction for oratory. I deal with autistic children, children who cannot talk, children who tremble. I have trained men who are 50 years old, who are wealthy, but they cannot hold a microphone. They hold it and they tremble, and I tell them, sir, come, I will teach you until you understand this thing. That ability now is my purpose. That's why I went to 7 schools. Why did I go to 7 schools? God understood that I'll talk to kids in different schools. I went to international schools. I went to local schools. I went to a day school. God wanted me to understand language. Why was I called Hinn? Because God understood that there is a lineage of priesthood. And to some degree, I needed to have that aspect early enough. Why am I in Uganda? Because Apostle Grace is a template in terms of the apostolic. There is something he has in terms of unction of communication. So I need a grace of Apostle Grace. I need an aspect of Joshua Selman. I need an aspect of Vusi Tembekwayo because he has an aspect for corporate and the global narrative. I need an aspect of John C. Maxwell because he's articulate and he's packaged himself in terms of knowledge. When you understand purpose, you'll even know how to pick templates. You'll know where to drink from, where to package yourself, how to dress up, how to position yourself. All these things will be key. And the earlier you understand your purpose, you'll not waste time on the wrong platforms. The question of purpose is so deep. But you must answer that question. Who have I been called to become? Who have I been called for? Where have I been called? Geographically. Where do I reach? Where do I not reach?
Yes.
At what point? How will I package my purpose? Some of you, in your purpose, you're not supposed to attract poor people. But some of you have been called for poor people. I'm telling you, there are people who have been called for the guys who are in the slums. Even how you look like can attract them. They greet you in town every day. Some of you have been called for children. Even right now, you just look childish. You're trying to be serious, but you just look childish. You just feel like laughing, and we're talking serious things. Some of you have been called for kings. The aura you carry. That's why some of the girls here, men fear you. Because there's an aura you carry. If you've been called for kingship, there's an aura God will give you for attracting kings. And an aura for power. You must know, why do you look like that, your face? Even you try to smile, it can't work. And while some of you try to be serious, it can't work because you've been called for children. Your purpose is to do a buju-buju with children. The question of purpose must be understood. Why does your body look like that? Brian, let's just stand. Look at the body of Brian. This body, whether you like it or not, it will persuade you. Yeah. Everything, the Bible says that in Colossians chapter 2 verse 10, that God has made you complete in Christ. And then there's another scripture that says that everything that you have, God knew your orientation in terms of destiny.
That's true.
Even your height. When you answer the question of purpose, insecurities leave. You'll know why you are short. Because there's a place in life where they only choose short people. There's a place in life where they'll only choose people who have a light skin tone. There's a place in life they only want someone who has a pimple. That conversation will start by a pimple. Someone will tell you, I have this pimple like you. What do you do? And that's how the conversation will start. This is an interesting conversation. God bless you.
Sorry, sit down.
Yes.
One more thing.